For the plants. Now, the last characteristic of plant which we are going to study it is the reproduction of flowering plant or the reproduction of flowers. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Okay, the first point which we are looking to discuss, you can see some question out here in the start of the lesson, right? Uh, if you look in the human and in the other animals, so there is a reproductive organ, right? So the same if you look to the reproductive organs in the plants. So in the plants, the reproductive organs are flowers, right? Are present in the flower. What is flower? How does fertilization in the angiosperms differ from fertilization in the other plants? What is the difference between fertilization in the angiosperms as compared to that of the gymnosperms or other plants? Okay, next we have what are the vegetative reproduction. What is vegetative reproduction? So these 3 points and these 3 parts we will discuss in this lesson today. The first one we are going to discuss it is the structure of the flower. First, we are going to take what? The structure of the flower. Okay. So what is flower or the structure of the flower? So you may think of flowers are decorative objects that brighten our world, and so they are. So if you look to flowers, so flowers generally we are thinking that flower is what? Flower is a decorative piece, right, which makes the world bright and beautiful, right? But beside this, what are its key characteristics in the life of the plant? However, the presence of so many flowers in the world is visible evidence of something else. So this is evidence for something else. Like for example, human animals, they are reproducing. They are producing the new generation. So the same, if plants are going to reproduce their new generation, so they need what? They need their specific part in their body, which is flower, right? With the help of the flower, they are producing the new individual or new coming species, right? The stunning evolutionary success of angiosperm or flowering plants. So the most evolutionary, which is the development in the angiosperm on the flowering plants, the structure of typical angiosperm flowers. So that is the evolutionary change or the big, very major breakthrough in the life of plants. The development of flower is a major breakthrough in their life, or the development of angiosperm flowers. Flowers are reproductive organs. They are composed of 4 different kinds of specialized leaves. So what is flower? Flower are actually the reproductive organs of flowers are actually the reproductive parts or we can say the reproductive organs of any plant, right? Which has 4 specialized leaves, 4 kinds of specialized leaves, which are sepals, which we call sepal, petals, stamen, and carpel, right? These 4 parts are the main parts of the flowers, which we will study what is stamen, what is carpel, what is sepal, and what is petals, right? So first we have sepal and petals, right? First, let me show you what are the sepal and petals. Petals, you can see this part of the flower, this leaves of the flower is called sepals, while the green leaves present down the petal is called sepal, right? And these two are called carpels and stamens. These are what, right? These are carpels and these are stamens. Take carpel and stem. Okay, now we will study one by one, right? Sepal and petals. What are sepals and what are petals? And how these sepals and petals are important. Who is in the lobby now? Okay, so sepals and petals. The outermost circle of the floral pouch contain the sepals, right? Which I show you down on the page, and right, these are what? These are sepals, right? The color part, and the green part is petal. The green part is petal, while sepals and the colored part is petal, right? You can see down. In many plants, the sepal or greens and closely resemble ordinary leaves. The sepal are mostly greens in most of the plants, and they have resemblance in what? They have resemblance with that of the leaves. Sepal enclose the buds before it open. The function of sepal is the function of sepal that it enclose the bud before it's going to open. And they protect the flowers while it is developing. And they protect what? They protect the flowers when it is going to when it is going for development. Petals, which are often bright color, are found just inside the sepal. So petal is where petal is found inside the sepals, right? And they have a bright color. The color number of the shape of such petal attract insects and other pollinators to the flowers. The reason for the color is that it's very bright, right? It's very attractive. It will attract a lot of animals toward itself, right? So that is the function of petals. Okay. In the parts of flowers, this diagram shows the parts of the typical flowers, right? Or the part of the typical flower. The flowers of some angiosperm species, however, do not have all the parts shown here. So some angiosperm plants we have, or some angiosperm plant flowers we have, which do not have all these parts, right? Next point we are moving to stamen, right? Next we are moving to stamen. Okay, so stamen, is it saying here or not? Okay, stamen you can see on the previous page, as I told you that what are stamen. So these are the stamen parts. Let me show you, right? Stamen you can see here, right? These are what? These are stamen, right? Stamen and carpels. See now, then I will not come back to this. These are what? These parts. Filament and anther. These are sepals, while style, stigma, and ovary. It contain what? It contains carpel. Okay, so now coming to the stamen. Okay, so if you look to stamen, right? Stamen within the ring of the petals are the structure that produce male and female gametophytes. The most important part is stamen, right? So stamen occur where? Stamen occur within the ring of petals, inside the petals, right? And they reproduce the male and female structure, right? Structure, they produce male and female gametophytes. So male and female gametophytes both are present, or both are reproduced by the stamen. The stamens are the male part of the flower. Each stamen consists of stalk called filament with an with an other with an anther at its tip, right? So this is what stamen is. What stamen is a male part of the flower, and each stamen consists of a stalk, which we call filament, right? As I told you, that stamen is composed of filament and anther, right? In the diagram I show you. Anther are the structure in which pollen grains, the male gymnosperms are produced, gametophytes are produced. So anther is what part or which structure? Anther is the structure or the part in which the pollen grains or male gametophytes are produced. In most angiosperm species, the flowers have several stamens. Most of the flower it has many stamens. If you rub your hand on anther of the flower, a yellow orange dust may stick to your skin. So you may have seen when you reach near to the flower, when you just rub your hand with the flower, so there will be a yellow grains will be there on dust like grains will be there on your skin, right? This dust is made up of thousands of individual pollen grains, right? So these dust are actually the male pollen grain, right? Next we have carpels. So carpels, the innermost floral parts of the carpel, the innermost floral part of the carpel produce and shelter the female gametophytes. So carpel produce and shelter the and cover the female gametophytes. Later, seed, right, and later on it will protect seed. Each carpel has boarding, base forming, and ovary which contain one or more wheels, right? So each, if you're talking about each carpel, so it will has a boarding base which will forming and ovary which contain one or more wheels, right? Where female gametophytes are produced. In the wheels, female gametophytes are produced. Okay, the diameter of the carpel narrow into a stalk called style, and the diameter of the carpel, which is narrow, it's called what? It is called stalk, as I showed you in the diagram, right? At the top of the style is a sticky or feathery portion known as stigma. So if you look to the top of at the top of the stigma, so if you look to the top of the carpel, there will be a sticky feather, right? And that sticky feather is called what? That sticky feather is called stigma, which is specialized to capture pollen, and the stigma is the one which capture what? Which is going to capture the pollen grain from the male stamen. Botanists sometimes call single carpel or several fused carpel as a pistil, right? So a botanist or the people who study plants, they call sometimes single or a group of the stigma, they call pistil, right? They call them what? They call them pistil. When single carpel is here or several carpel fused together, so they call them what? They call them pistil. Okay. Okay, next we have variation in flower, variation or variety in flowers, variation or variety in flowers. How variation or variety in flowers you will get? If you have any question till this place, you can ask me, guys. Now we will study what variation or variety in flowers, right? How variation will come in the flowers. Okay. Different types of flowers we have, right? So how these variations come, as we will study now, the variation which comes in the flowers. Okay, look here, flowers vary greatly in shape, color, and size. So if you look to the color, shape, and size of the flowers, so they are different from one another, right? A typical flower plants produce both male and female gametophytes. So if you look to a normal flowering plant, so they will have both male and female gametophytes. In some species, however, in some species, however, male and female gametophytes are produced on different plants. But this case will just be in some species, not in all, right, in which the male and female gametophytes occur in the different plants. In some species, many flowers grow close together to form a composite structure that look like a single flowers. But beside this, we have a lot of other flowers in which a bunch of flowers are there, right? In the one stalk. So they will look like one flower. As you can see in the queen anise lace at the right? This plant, if you look right, this white plant which we have, white flowers, so these are queen anise lace, right? Which there is a lot of flowers are on the one stalk. Now, some types are given here: iris, passion flowers, wild rose, and queen analyze, right? So we have to study it one by one. The first one we have here, it is iris, right? So the dropping petal-like structure are in fact modified sepals. You can see this, right? The dropping petal. This is a dropping petal, right? So the dropping petal-like structure is actually it's a modified sepal. These are sepals, right? The fuzzy yellow strip running down the center guides bees and other pollinators to the male and female part of the interior of the flower. This yellow part, which is being shown, right? So this guides the pollinator or insect to the male and female part of the flowers. Next one we have passion flower, right? You can see here passion flowers. Some flowers have stamen and pistils. You can easily count like this. You can easily count, right? You can see here. In this dramatic flowers, five stamens lie beneath three pistils. So there will be five stamens which will lie beneath three stamens, right? So that will what that will be passion flower. Okay, next we have as we discussed, queen anise lace. So some flower-like structure are actually cluster of many individual flowers, right? Some flower structure are actually cluster of many individual flowers. Like you can see here in the queen anaslas, right? Which these are the clusters of flowers, and it look like one flowers, but these are too many flowers. The last one we have wild rose. This flower has many stamens, right? Surrounding a tight cluster of carpels is center. So you can see these are many stamens it have, right? And it is surrounding the carpel which is present in the center. Right? So this is all about the lesson we were supposed to study today. Okay. So this was this lesson which we are going to study today. We have time, but you have quiz today. So the last 10 minutes, I'm going for a quiz, but you have to revise your quiz, right? As you have quiz in the next session. Sorry, after 1 o'clock. Okay, boys. In grade 11, to be specific, uh, I have uploaded the workbook. If you have completed, so it's okay. You can study from here. And if you didn't complete it, your workbook, to download the workbook, I have uploaded on the website on the Classera. You can upload from, you can download and you can study from there. If you have any question related to today's lesson, you can ask me. If you have any question related to today's lesson, you can ask me now. No question?